Welcome back to the Comical Opinions YouTube channel. I'm Gabe Hernandez. I'm the publisher and EIC for Comical Opinions. It is, as of this recording, by the time it gets published, it's Monday morning, August 14th, and we're here with the latest video newsletter. So hopefully the reception on the first one was very good. We got more views than subscribers, which is great, which means it's kind of popular, or at least we're hitting on a popular topic. So I'm happy to talk to you today. And if everybody likes it, we'll make this a regular event. So today's op-ed, we're going to talk about the WGA strike and Amazing Spider-Man. And you might immediately think to yourself, wow, those two things have nothing to do with each other. But that is not correct. They are actually symptomatic of the same type of problem, which is the way that the entertainment providers and the entertainment creators have sort of lost their way a little bit in their mission statement, which is to create entertainment that people like, that they're willing to spend money on and willing to pay for. So we're going to talk through the op-ed a little bit, and then we'll talk about just a quick reminder about indie submissions and also get to our list of reviews. So let's hop right into it. So the op-ed today is WGA strike and ASM, symptoms of the same problem. And it's a lengthy one, I'll grant you that, but I think it covers the points pretty clearly, and we'll see how it goes and if everybody likes it. As of this writing, the WGA strike has reached day 102. Now it's Monday the 14th, so maybe it'll be a few days past that, but it's definitely over the 100-day mark. And also, as of this writing, the Zeb Wells run on Amazing Spider-Man has reached almost day 475, so a little bit over a year and a half. You might think these two activities have nothing in common, but they both share something very serious underneath that has created both of the scenarios where they're both losing popularity in the court of public opinion. And basically the underlying root cause of the problem is they've both forgotten that they're entertainment companies and their number one mission is to create entertainment that people like. So let's start off talking about Hollywood and how that got where the WGA strike really isn't gaining the amount of popularity that the people who are in the strike are hoping that they would get. According to a recent LA Times article, they did a poll of a little over 1,000 people. And what they found out, which should be good news for the strikers, is that about 36% or so, a little bit over a third of the people who were polled, were in favor of the strike. They want to support the writers. They want to make sure that they're getting paid what they're worth, and they were supportive of their striking activities until some concessions or negotiations could be met with the studios. However, it's not the numbers that you see; it's the numbers that you don't see that tell the story. When you look at the same poll and look at those same numbers from the LA Times, the part that they don't discuss is that over 50%, somewhere in the 56 to 57% range, over 50% of people either didn't know the details of the strike, and if they didn't know the details of the strike, they really didn't care. That shows a great amount of apathy. Over a majority of the folks who were polled in that, and it's only a sampling of 1,000 people, but still, the majority of the people had apathy about what was going on with the strike, and they just didn't care. And so the question is, why? Why don't people care about the strike? Why aren't they more supportive of what the writers are going for? Why aren't they more supportive of people just basically getting their fair share, as the WGA puts it? We had a recent newsletter a few weeks back, and I've included a link in the op-ed today to go over the details of the different demands and the conditions that the WGA is looking for. So click on that link and give that one a read so you can see the individual breakdown of what seems reasonable and also what doesn't seem reasonable. And hopefully that'll give you some clarity about what the WGA is asking for and why some of it makes sense and maybe some of it doesn't. There is no issue with the writers asking for better working conditions, getting paid what they're owed, especially when it comes to streaming services and whatnot. That's not the issue. The issue, I think, where people have apathy, at least in the general American public, in particular from the folks that were in that LA Times poll, where they were where they felt a sense of apathy towards what was going on, is because what's been coming out of Hollywood just isn't that good. When you have movies that are reimaginings, reboots, redos, and do-overs of existing IPs that people already know, people just don't want to see the same story over and over again. When you have movies that are meant to be just pure entertainment and popcorn fun, and there's all kinds of Social messages, political messages, pandering, political views that may or may not work with half of the country. That's also going to create a problem. And then when you have stories that take existing IPs and they rework them and reimagine them into something that's almost unrecognizable from what the fan base has come to expect, that also creates a problem. And when you have these problems that stack on top of each other over and over again, you wind up with probably one of the worst years in Hollywood history from a profit loss perspective. There have been so many bombs this year that you see large studios, in particular Disney, has lost a lot of money over what should be big blockbuster releases. And so what the end result is, you have a Hollywood system that's creating, to put it not so nicely, crap. And so when the writers who are writing these films are churning out crap, people don't like it. And so the mission statement of Hollywood, which is to create entertainment that people like, that they're willing to spend their money on to escape the humdrum doldrums of their daily life, and they want to escape for a little while and have fun, and all you're doing is pumping out redos, retreads, propaganda, and reimaginings that distort and basically spoil existing IPs that you might already like. Nobody wants to pay for that. And so essentially, people are saying, I'm taking my ball and I'm going home. Hollywood is not getting the buzz that they used to get. They're not getting the public support that they used to get. And just overall, Hollywood is in the in the hopper, as it were, because they're just not gaining, they're not following their core mission statement, which is to entertain the public. The public is not entertained, and therefore they're not getting the support that they should. So let's move over to Amazing Spider-Man. And I complain about Amazing Spider-Man all the time, both in the reviews that I also contribute and write for Weird Science Marvel Comics, and just also on this newsletter. I've mentioned Amazing Spider-Man more than once because the current run under Zeb Wells and editor Nick Lowe is just horrible. It had a strong start when Amazing Spider-Man #1 came out in April of 2022. Zeb Wells hit the ground running with a very solid Tombstone arc that made you appreciate that villain and elevated him in a way that hadn't been done in a very long time. He made Tombstone a formidable villain. But since then, that one arc really was just a nice start, but there was an overarching arc that started with issue #1 called the What Did Peter Do arc. And as we now know, that arc has become pretty infamous because it was just handled so badly. It eventually wrapped around to issues 25 and 26, where you had the son of Raven show up as the supporting cast member named Paul. Raven came in as a villain, which was a know nothing villain from about 2014 that Zeb Wells dug up out of nowhere. And then it all culminated with a sort of a weird, quick battle that resulted in Ms. Marvel's death, all for the purpose of resurrecting her less than a month and a half later. It was a mess. And nobody likes it. I mean, I can't find anybody who legitimately likes that arc, let alone how it ended, and especially the death of Ms. Marvel. I mean, the whole thing was just mishandled from start to finish. What you find is not just with ASM, but the Spider-Man titles in particular, is you have this laundry list of things that fans have keep harping about over and over again, which is they want change out of the Spider-Man titles. They want One More Day undone or retconned or moved past so that MJ and Peter Parker can get back together again. They want Peter to grow up a little, to stop being treated like and written as an irresponsible teenager, even though he's a grown adult. They want Peter Parker to have more adventures that aren't just retreads of stories that have already been done. They've just released, I think, with this past week, that they're going back to Spider-Man Reign, which was not a well-received storyline. If you're familiar with that storyline, look up. I hate to say the term, but radioactive sperm, and see what that gets you from Spider-Man Reign. Not a well-received run, and there's for some reason going back to it. So what you see is Marvel over and over again. They're keep inventing scenarios and situations where Spider-Man doesn't move on, doesn't grow up, doesn't move past the stories that have already been done, and doesn't undo the mistakes of the past. And so, from an entertainment perspective, which is exactly what Marvel is, just like Hollywood, Marvel Comics is an entertainment company. Its job is to entertain people. And so people will pay money if they feel like they're getting entertained and if they're having fun. And if you keep giving people the exact opposite of what they want, they're not having fun. They're not getting their expectations met. They're not being satisfied. And when that happens, sales go down, less money is spent, and then Marvel is finding itself now in that situation where the volume sales for number of comics sold per month are dropping. We're finding out that we're hearing stories about hiring freezes and maybe even some layoffs pending. We'll see how that goes. And now the rumor's starting to percolate up. It's just a rumor. It's just a rumor, so don't take it for salt for granted as a fact. It's just a rumor, but there might be a line-wide reboot coming later in this year or into early 2024. That's not a good position for Marvel to be in. And so the same situation where that precipitated the WGA strike for Hollywood writers is the same situation that precipitated the current, lack of financial growth and prosperity for Marvel, which is they've both forgotten that they're entertainment companies. They've both forgotten that their number one goal is to make entertainment that people like, that they're willing to pay for. And that's not happening anymore because you have writers doing either the exact opposite of what people want or they're giving people what they never wanted in the first place. One or the other, both symptomatic of the same problem. They forgot that they have to entertain us. That should be the number one goal. And until they remember that, they're going to continue to dwindle and get into this bad place where the public just doesn't want to have anything to do with them anymore. That's apathy, that's mistrust, that's lack of goodwill, it's lack of hype, and that's where both organizations find themselves in, both the WGA and the Marvel. So how do you get out of that situation? That's a big nut to crack. I mean, I don't have all the answers. I got lots of opinions, but I don't have all the answers. Uh, if we look at it as a sports analogy perspective, the right thing to do is when you have a team that's not performing well, you need a new coach with a new playbook in both scenarios. That means the WGA, maybe they need some new leadership to handle how they're doing things as a union and how they're addressing both the people who are in the union and how that union interacts with the studios. When it comes to Marvel, you definitely need to change the leadership there, both in the senior editorial levels and in the writers. In both cases, people have to be swapped out. There's no way around that. You can't effect positive change in any organization with the same leadership making the same mistakes. So the question is who? Well, WGA, that's more complicated. I'm not going to touch that one, but for Marvel, yeah, they definitely need to swap out some of the senior editors and some of the more entrenched writers. Who's that going to be? Who knows? There's always ideas. It could be anyone from McFarlane to Kirkman to any number of people that you can think of if they wanted the job. And that's also going to be a tough sell. So we'll see. So that's the op-ed for today. Hopefully, if you want to read the full article, there's going to be a link down in the description. So click on that link. You can go to the newsletter where you can get a link also back to the full article so you can read the full op-ed. Please leave a comment. Let me know what your opinion is. Is the WGA in a better shape than Marvel or the other way around? And if you had to change out the leadership, how would you do it? Leave a comment down in the bottom of the newsletter and let me know what you think. Now, on to the rest of the newsletter. A word of reminder, we're getting a lot of indie submissions lately, and we're happy to review all of them as quick as we can. It's free. You don't have to pay for it, but we are backlogged because we get so many of them. So if you have an upcoming Kickstarter or Indiegogo or Zoop or anything else that's coming down the road or crowdfunding out of your own website, however it works, if you've got an upcoming embargo date, get your review submission in sooner rather than later. Let us know what those embargo dates are, and we'll get to it as fast as we can. We're backlogged by a few months. We're trying to work through the pile as quickly as we can, but there are so many, and we will do our best to get to them quickly. But thank you for your patience. Now let's talk about the reviews for the past week. So as far as reviews that we've completed and which ones we liked, we have Here Comes the Dragon Punch #1 and Wicked Tales #1, both indie submissions. They have their pluses and their minuses. Go ahead and read those reviews and check them out. We have Sleeping Beauty, The Nightmare Queen from Zenoscope, Scarlet Couture, The Munich File #1 from Titan, Heat Seeker #2 from Titan, Vampire Dracula Rage #1 from Dynamite, Gunslinger Spawn #23 from Image, The Enfield Gang Massacre #1 from Image. That is basically a prequel to That Texas Blood. So if you like that series, there's your prequel right there. You've Been Canceled #3 from Mad Cave, and A Legacy of Violence #8 also from Mad Cave. We have Mech Cadets #1 from Boom. That's already been optioned as a Netflix animation series. Gargoyles Dark Ages #2, which is a prequel to the main Gargoyle series. So it's basically a Middle Ages uh, series or event that takes place on Wyvern Hill. Barbarella, The Sinner Cannot Hold #5. That is the finale to that particular arc, and the Madness #1 from AWA Studios, which we've only, I think, reviewed once or twice before. I would say out of this list, the Madness #1, which is a superhero revenge story from J. Michael Straczynski, is probably our top pick. It was surprisingly good. So if you like kind of superheroes with a dark twist like The Boys or Invincible, pick up the Madness #1 from AWA Studios. That's probably going to be our pick of the week. Now let's take a look what we got coming up this week. We have two indie submissions: Battle Code Ragnarok and Jazz, which stands for Juggernauts Against Zealous Zealots. It's a little bit of a an action comic with a little bit of a humorous twist. We have We Are Scarlet Twilight #4. That is the finale to that miniseries from Red 5 Comics. Betty Page #3 and Red Sonja #2 from Dynamite. Oz Kingdom of the Lost #1 from Zenescope. Rivals #3 from Image. Grit and Gears number 5 and Tox #2 from Blood Moon. Under the Influence #2 from Mad Cave. Antarctica #2 from Image. We have a manga volume, Dead Company Volume 1 from Tokyo Pop. We have a new Disney series starting up from Dynamite called Disney Villains from Hades #1. That's Hades from the Hercules cartoon film. Disney Villains Maleficent #4 and Monomyth #4 from Mad Cave Studios. If I had to pick one, which is the most anticipated for the week, it's either going to be Red Sonja #2, because we want to see how they followed up a pretty solid first issue. We Are Scarlet Twilight #4, which is the end of that really strong miniseries from Red 5. And there might be one or two other surprises in there. We'll see how Void Rivals #3 goes from Image Comics. So we've got a lot of good picks in there. So we'll see how they all shake out. And so look forward to those reviews coming out mid next week and throughout the end of the week. And that is it. So if you like this video presentation of our newsletter, please like, share, and subscribe down below. If you want links to this document, the op-ed, or anything else, they'll also be in the show notes down below. Please leave us a comment. Let us know what you think and how we can do better. And that is it for today. So happy Monday. Please follow Comical Opinions on all the socials at Comical Opinions. And we're looking forward to seeing you sometime soon. Happy Monday.